This week, we will be covering Arithmetic Series. In order to talk about this topic, first we need to make sure that we know the difference between sequence and series. This 2, 5, 8, 11, this is an arithmetic sequence. Notice that it is a list of numbers and each number is separated by comma. Here is an example of arithmetic series. Do you notice the difference? Obviously, the series is a sum or the addition of terms of arithmetic sequence. In order to find the answer to arithmetic series problems, we are going to use these two formulas. These two formulas are essentially the same, but for some problems, one works better than the other. But before we jump into an example, let's make sure that what each variable in the formula represents. So first, you notice that each formula, whether you use the left one or right one, we need to know what n is. Now, n is the number of terms you're adding. If you're adding 5 numbers, then n is 5. u1, which is required for both formula, is the first term. And un will represent the last term of the series. And if you are using the second formula, we need to know what d is. And d, hopefully you can recall from arithmetic sequence, is the common difference. Now let's take a look at the example. Now, when you look at this problem, let's identify those numbers. What is n? N is, again, the number of terms you're adding. And in this case, it says we are adding 50 terms. We are adding 50 numbers. So n is 50. Now, how about u1? u1 is the first term of the series. In this case, it's 4. So u1 is 4. Now, how about un, or in this case, u50, because we are adding the 50 terms. What is the last term? Now, in this problem, we don't know what last term is, because you see that ... right here, and it just keeps going to the 50 terms, but it doesn't tell us what the last term is. So we don't know that. Now, so what is that means that we cannot be using this first formula, because this first formula requires knowing the last term, which we don't have. That means that we have to use the second formula, which requires d. So let's figure out what d is. D is the common difference. Now just let's pretend that this is just a sequence. How do you go from 4 to 7? 7 to 10. It's going up by 3, isn't it? So d is 3. Now, by using the second formula, we can figure out s sub 50, which is n, which is 50, divided by 2 times u1, which is 4, plus D, which is 3, and N is, again, 50 minus 1. And all we have to do is just to simplify and do the math. So let's keep going. 50 divided by 2 is 25. 2 times 4 is 8. Now let's do the parentheses. 50 minus 1 is 49. Now we gotta do multiplication first. So let's do 3 times 49, which is 147. This is 147. So 8 plus 147 is going to be 155. So 25 times 155, which is 3875. So if you add all 50 terms of this sequence, it will be, the total is going to be 3,875. Okay? Now, let's go over on example number 2. This is somewhat challenging problem. Can you identify what the underlying challenge is? Now the challenge is that we don't know what n is. Now because of these ... right there, we don't exactly know how many numbers or terms we are adding in this problem. So we got problem there. Now whether we use the first formula or the second formula, we do need to know what n is. So it's critical that we first find out what n is. So let's try to do that. Okay. Now, in order to find what n is, now in order to find n, first we are going to pretend that this is just a sequence, 1, 8, 15. Okay, and then we are actually going to go back to the arithmetic sequence formula, which is un equals u sub 1 plus d n minus 1. Remember that? We're going to use that to figure out what this 141, or which term this 141 belongs to. Okay, this is the first term, which is 1. Second term is 8. Third term is 15. But then what term is this 141? And that's what we are trying to answer right now. So u1 is 1. D, can you tell me what D is? It's going up by 7, isn't it? So D is 7. And N is what we are after, so we don't know. N minus 1. For particular N value, this is going to be equal to what? Equal to 141. We're asking basically what n value will give you 141. And so let's try to solve this. Distribute 7. So 7n minus 7 equal 141. Can we simplify 1 minus 7? Okay. So that will be 7n minus 6 equals 141. Now let's add 6 on both sides. 7n equals 147. And then what do we do next? Divide by 7. And we get n equals 21. Now what did we figure out? We figured out that this 141 is 21st number. It's U21. Okay, so that we are basically adding 21 numbers all together. Now we can figure out the answer, S21. Now in this case, we are going to use the first formula. We could still use the second one, but since we have all the necessary ingredients for first formula is simpler, isn't it? We know n is 21. Do we know the first term? Which is, so let's use that. I'm gonna rewrite this, the formula, u1 plus un. So n is 21. We are adding 21 terms. u1 is the first number, which is 1. And u21, the last term, is 141. 141 plus 1, it's 142. And personally, I will just do 21 times 142 and then divide that by 2. And you should get 1,491. So this example number 2 takes a little bit more of an effort. This concludes week 4 video instruction. I just want to thank all of you for doing your best to keep up with the class. I know that it is difficult to motivate yourself to keep up with the class, but I really appreciate you trying to do your best under this circumstance. Please stay strong. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to your teacher. Take care.